I think fear is one of the big things that holds us back from growing. I know that's what has held me back in the past. And just kind of remembering that business is fun. Business is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to be enjoying this. And we can't get caught up in the fear of what if all the time.
Welcome to CustomerBloom's Growing Business Faster podcast, where we talk about all things related to growing and scaling your business in today's hyper-connected world. Gain insightful tips from experts about the tactics and tools that will make your business stronger. Now get prepared to accelerate your success with your host, Matt Coffey.
I'm very excited today. This is one of those podcasts I get to do. I've got Stephen Christopher on, and he's had a couple of different agencies. He's got Sequus today, his main gig. Say hi, Steve.
Hey, Matt, how are you? Thanks for bringing me on the show.
You're welcome. And we're sort of at the same level of agency size. We're around that $1 million mark, but this is your second agency. You've had some other businesses, and the cool thing is that you grew this one really fast. And I'm beyond tickled to find out how in under basically 2 years you got to $1 million company. I'm sure some of the listeners who are plugged into this right now are curious as well. We've had some other folks that have been on the agency world in our podcast that have got substantial sized agencies. We've talked to a couple, but they mainly have been sort of midstream. And so this is interesting to talk about how you built this so quickly. But our main thrust today is to talk about motivation. And maybe that ties into like how you got to get there so quickly. Could you take us back in 2014 when you started and how things looked, and then just maybe bridge us through sort of like a 6-month clip on how things extended and how quickly and why you grew so fast, more than how you grew so fast. But I think there's got to be some motivation behind this.
Yeah, sure. So in May of 2014, I sold my previous agency to pretty much exit a business partnership. And then in May, I started day one, and all I had was a name that my girlfriend and I had actually come up with on a bar napkin over a beer at Chili's. And so the structure when I started Sequus looked like me, with 0 clients because I couldn't take any of our existing clients from my previous agency. And that was it. I mean, I didn't have any real plan when I started. I think some of the best information that I had that allowed me to grow so quickly is I had the previous 5 or 6 years from my last agency. I knew everything that I didn't want to do, and I had a list of all the things that I wanted to change in the previous agency, but we had grown a little too big. I mean, we were only about 15 people, but Matt, as you know, even as you get a couple people, it's difficult to make some changes within the company structure, culture. I mean, just how you do everything. And so I was fortunate enough to get to hit the reset button. But at the same time, I can tell you, or anybody that's started a business, I mean, when you're there sitting at a desk by yourself and you have nobody to help, you're doing all the work, you're trying to get all the customers, it can be daunting and sometimes a little disheartening even.
Oh yeah, it's there's so much. I mean, on a daily basis, there's I call it the roller coaster ride of life. It's really, I swear, like last Friday I was on the top of the world, and you come in on Tuesday and you're still on the top of the world. By Wednesday, I've hit the bottom. And it's like, what happened? Why is everybody mean today?
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned roller coaster and kind of that description that you just said. Have you ever read the book Double Double by Cameron Herold?
No, I've heard of it, and it's in my want to read list.
Cool. Yeah, I would recommend it to any business owner because he, for those of you who don't know, he's the guy, the COO that grew 1-800-GOT-JUNK from like 2 million to 180 million in a very short amount of time. Yep. And he talks about the roller coaster ride of a CEO, and it's exactly what you just said.
Yeah, it's funny. We kind of knew. It's funny. You get back from like Memorial Day. weekend, and it's they're very happy and everybody's had a great time. And with the customers, it's like almost traditional. The Wednesday after Memorial Day, they all come running back because they've all forgotten that they're supposed to do, and then they come back and whether you point fingers or whatever, but just stuff needs to get done, and no one was, everybody was kind of sort of delaying things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you went from this napkin drawing of a business to now in the last 2 years to 80,000. What was the main thing that drove your revenue? What do you think was the main factor? Because that's a lot of accounts to be built in a short period of time. I'm assuming that we're talking about, the small business profession, chiropractor, plumber, blah, 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 type of business.
Yeah. I mean, we have, I don't know, right now between 35 and 40 clients. Those are our main revenue driving clients. And then we have a couple other smaller ones, and then we get revenue from our web development side. But, I would say one of the big things that drove our revenue was really putting together a solid product. And it was something that I hadn't done in the past. And so when I would go out and sell, because I was the primary salesperson in both the current company and my past one, it would kind of be based on what that client's needs were, but it was loosely put together, and we would kind of a la carte everything. And so it just didn't feel like that was right. And, I talked to a couple of my other friends that own much larger agencies. Jeff Leo Herman, which you interviewed not too long ago, I saw on your podcast, that's one of them. Right. And so I talked to these guys and said, here's where I am. Give me a little bit of direction on how you got from, 4 million to 20 million. And that consistently kind of came up. And so I created a much more kind of strict list of services. So we really only have like 3 levels of packages that we offer to people. And from an SEO standpoint, the SEO is all the same, even from the basic one. But we started to do all these other add-ons that we found we were good at and we were doing for some clients. So like one of my account managers would be doing something for his client just because he felt like that was right. But the other account manager didn't even know he was doing it, and neither did I. And it was a huge value add, and it was getting a lot more leads for the client. So I said, okay, let's sit down and figure out everything we're doing for all clients and then put them into 3 nice little packages. And now we really have something that we're great at, so we can continually get better and better within those packages. And then we can continue to charge more and more for them, because now we're starting to collect data on what's working and what's not. And now when I go out to a new client, I can say, hey, our mid-level package is, $3,900 a month, but here's the list of things that you get. And then here's kind of what our current clients have seen as far as a return and a, growth in their business based on what it is that we're doing. That was a huge one for us.
Yeah, it's funny how we're literally like 2 months from that refresh where we had the same issues, and we have a lot of piecemeal, but most of the clients we work with, we've got the data now, and we can go back and give them some pretty relevant stuff. From a perspective of changing out landing pages and the A/B testing we've done and all the things that kind of add up, and especially if you hit certain verticals, and we've always had that challenge, and that's been one of the things that we've danced around, is do you pick a vertical, or do you basically do what we've done, which has been, hey, winner come all. And we have so many just local clients that just see our reputation, they just want to work with us. They're like, oh, you guys seem like you know what you're doing, why don't you do our stuff? And we haven't turned necessarily a lot of people down, but our abilities to really concentrate is going to be, I would say, not as focused as if you went down some really specific verticals. And I it's tough, because at one end, we don't mind taking a $35 million manufacturing company that's going to, really work with us and, provide us with some enhanced knowledge base, because they're going to make us actually work harder. But at the end of the day, we still have to sort of put these packages together like you've done and think about just really what can you take advantage from a data set that you already know about, right? So you have an inherent advantage over another player that might be in the space.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the actually the CEO of Fathom, Scott Lowry, and I talk quite a bit, and that's one of the things we talk a lot about is how far down do you niche?
Yeah.
And when do you start to say no? And one of the things that we've had multiple conversations about is you niche to the point of where your best abilities and skills are. So you take the things that you're really great at as a team and a culture and a company and lay out what all those are. So for example, we're really great at organic SEO. We're really great at follow up through landing pages and email marketing, and phone call tracking. So, you take all the things that you're really good at currently, and now you go out and you find industries that fit within those areas where you have expertise in, and then that's where you start to market. And that's how we've niched, is based on that. So as opposed to what I used to do, and I think a lot of agencies do, is they kind of want to take anything and everything. But what we found is when we started niching down even more, now we're able to charge more, still a very fair price to both parties, but we're able to charge more, and we're known a little bit more as kind of the expert in certain industries. And so now we have the ability to turn people down, but yet still grow. And that's been really big for us as well.
When you say you were marketing yourself, were you running ads? So one of the things that we've never done, which is surprising, I think most people would go, really? Is that we've actually never promoted ourselves. We've never gone out to Facebook and run ads. We've never gone on done pay-per-click ads. We've never done anything. We've literally just taken clients on because of the demand in the market. Did you go down a niche and vertically go after the, let's just say, HVAC guy or the chiropractor guy or whatever, and say, let's run a targeted campaign and let's market ourselves? And was that part of the business strategy to pick up customers that way, or was it more direct sales type of activity?
Yeah, ours was the same as yours. It was all organic referrals, and just kind of me being out there in front of our ideal clients. It's really funny. I mean, we're a digital agency, right? We run other ads for companies and we're really good at it. But in the last probably maybe 2 months or so, we've tried to start doing like some Facebook ads for us, and we fail miserably at it. It's not our marketing for a digital agency is not one of our strengths. And so we were having trouble marketing our own services through some of the mediums that we do really well for other clients. So yeah, to answer your question, no, we've never done it. We've tried a little bit and we've been unsuccessful. So most of what we do is just add so much value to our ideal client that eventually they want to come work with us. So I'll speak at events that have a group of clients that we want, or put out videos with just information on how to grow a chiropractic practice, or how to grow your HVAC business, things you should be doing, things that your SEO company should be doing to watch out for. And we just answer the questions that they have, and then that kind of organically turns into business. And then on the other side, we just do a great job. And then, everybody in the, let's just say, the chiropractic industry has other chiropractors in other areas as friends. Right. So if we do a great job for them, now you're going to get referrals from that.
Yeah, same with, no question, same with us. I was just curious because we had considered, this whole process of how do we expand. And you're right. I think a B2B strategy in the digital marketing world has been really, and I've talked to even our AdWords team. They're like, don't do it. They're like, the issue is that you will get clients, but they're not going to be the right fit because they're shopping in the wrong direction, right? And they're shopping from typically a low cost alternative because they're not educated enough. And the ones that are educated, they tend to, once they get educated, they tend to go and then get the reference point, right? They're like, hey, I need to do this X, Y, and Z. Hey, who are you working with, right? And I think that's been the predictor for us. But from a general standpoint, I find that people who find us naturally, from an SEO perspective, who just, as you mentioned, growing yourself organically, it seems to be those clients stick around the longest because they want to have the same sort of level up marketing strategy, and they don't have to pay for somebody, right? They don't have to put $6,000 down a month to pay for a marketing manager, and have a seat for them and have a computer and deal with them when they are out sick. And it's a very interesting model that. And I always wonder, what's the motivation behind this, right? I was thinking about this today. I was talking about mantras, and mantras relate to, obviously, your personal commitments to yourself. And I was thinking that one of the things is to talk to customers and get them enthused about the possibilities of building out their business, not necessarily solving the problem, meaning not here you do AdWords and you do SEO and you do the social media and you do this email marketing. I think that's all kind of just part of the mechanics, but really to speak with someone and get them enthused about growing their business and giving them their life back in a way would be sort of a very interesting paradigm to work from a mantra.
Yeah, I love that. And we've seen some success kind of around what you're talking about. And actually, I watched a video that you did. I don't know what it was dated, but it was about pretty much like your why, why, finding your why are you doing what you're doing? And I think that ties in with exactly what you're saying. If you can find out why your customer's doing what they're doing, why did you start a business? Why are you trying to grow it? Is it to send your daughter to college? Is it to allow your family to go on more vacations? Is it, whatever that is for your customer? If you can start with that and then work backwards and showing them how you're going to help them get there, I think that's how you build an unbelievable customer relationship. And now they're so excited about doing the work when we ask them to do the stuff that we all know clients don't always enjoy doing. Yeah. It's like, hey, remember, John, remember, by you writing this or by you doing this video, that's helping Sally get to college. That's what we're trying to do for you. And now all of a sudden he's excited again and more willing to do those things that maybe they don't see the exact correlation in the beginning.
So when you split out of your previous agency, what was the size of that agency? And what was the motivation for you to split from that agency?
Yeah, so it took us from 2009 to 2014, so about 5 years, we had grown to I think we were just shy of 15 people, but we were only doing on an average between like 40 and 60,000 a month. And so we had grown what I would consider to be a little more sluggishly and a little bit more, we were pretty fat as a company. I mean, we weren't running real lean. So we were kind of just trying things and see what works. And we didn't really use our cash all that well. But the reason for leaving was I had a 50-50 business partner, and we had different ideas of what you do when you start to become successful. So when we started to actually make some money, my theory on running a company is that you reinvest, you work even harder, you grow more, so that now you can help, you can create more jobs, you can help more staff accomplish what they want, you can help more clients accomplish what they want. And my business partner's idea was that CEOs don't really work, and they just kind of hang out and watch the money roll in. And so, over a couple of months, we slowly just had over conversations, just realized that we weren't a great fit as partners anymore. And I tried to buy them out for a few months and it just didn't work. So I ended up selling at the last minute, which was a huge blessing in disguise.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So now, motivation to start your own show. I get it. Get the put the pieces together and get started. But still, that foothold to get to around 80,000 a month within a year or 2 years was, I guess, I go back to my original opinion of this motivation stuff. Is there a motivation behind that? Meaning that what gets you up in the morning to do what we do? I don't mean it in a negative way. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of mental torsion here as we kind of go through each day, because we talked about this in the beginning before we started, was this up and down mental roller coaster. That what do you think is behind? And we talked about this just a few minutes ago. Your why, since we're on that topic.
So, I mean, besides just, living an entrepreneur lifestyle and being a glutton for punishment, apparently, as we all know as business owners, really, I mean, my why is to do absolutely whatever it takes to help business owners achieve success that they never thought possible. And to me, that alone wakes me up in the morning. That does everything for me in my life. So that gets me to have a better relationship. That gets me to the gym. That gets me to working on my company culture. That gets me to sell. I mean, that's, for me, there's no greater purpose in my life than to help business owners achieve success. And I'm doing that through one of the things that I'm good at, which is the digital marketing space. So, I mean, that's a big part of it for me is just knowing my why. And when I'm sitting there, maybe doing something that I know I'm not supposed to be, or kind of slacking off, that pops up in my mind and I say, oh man, like, what am I doing here? We literally have one life. Like, that minute that I just wasted, or that hour that I just wasted, I can never get that back again. And why wouldn't I want to use it doing something that is going to move me closer to that why, or help one of our clients? So when I put the whole thing in perspective, meaning like our whole life and our time here, whatever that means to each individual person, you're sitting at the office no matter what, pretty much, right? I mean, as owners, I mean, we're in the office every day, or you're working every day if you work from home. You're sitting in front of your computer. Why not do the thing that is going to get you to that next level? It's really no more difficult than messing around or kind of floundering in some fake project that just because you want to play on Facebook today, you're like, oh man, maybe we'll just play with Facebook ads. Like, deep down that that's not what you need to be doing. But doing the right project is really no more difficult. It doesn't take any more energy. So just do the right thing. One of my friends, coaches, mentors always says, do what's right, not what's easy. And I have that written on my wall. And I mean, for me, that's the motivation is, I know what my why is. I know that we're here on this planet for a finite amount of time. And I know that there's a lot of stuff out there to experience still. And if I'm not willing to, work my butt off, I'm not going to see all that stuff. I'm going to miss it. And I don't want to do that. I want to help as many people as I can. And I want to experience as much as I can while I'm here.
Mm. So let's talk about that. You have a couple of interesting clients. You work with Hal Elrod, right?
Yeah. And that's actually the guy I was talking about. His, do what's right, not what's easy.
Right. I know. I recognize it. I'm like,
I love it.
How did you get hooked up with him? Because he's a pretty well-known author. He's been sort of on his book. I guess it's not even like a tour, but it is sort of a tour because he is everywhere. And he's doing a lot of the traditional folks that we know have events. How did you get hooked up with him? I'm just curious. Is it a friend, or was it a relationship you had?
Yeah, so here's the cool thing about social media in today's world. I was at an event, somebody told me about this book called The Miracle Morning, and it was written by this guy named Hal Elrod. I went home, I read the book, I was like, man, this is awesome. And I just reached out to him on Facebook, and this was really right at the time when I started Sequist, so early 2014. Reached out to him on Facebook. I researched him first, did a couple, asked him a couple questions about things he was working on so that it wasn't like I was just trying to take advantage of his time, and just asked for a phone call. I was like, hey man, I'd really love to jump on the phone with you for like 10 minutes. And I had a couple very specific questions that I wanted to ask him, so it wasn't time wasted. And after that phone call, so he finally said yes. I had asked him a couple times. He said yes, and we created kind of a very loose friendship over Facebook. And I said, hey, if you ever come to Denver and do a speaking event, let me know. I'd love to attend it. And he said, hey, I'm actually going to be there in a couple weeks. I'm speaking at a private event, but if you want to come as my guest, you come and hang out and I can meet you. So, I mean, that's really how we got started. And then we continued talking after that, and he was starting to get much bigger. I mean, pretty much by the month at this point, from Miracle Morning sales and speaking and keynoting and stuff. And so I said, all right, tell me more about your coaching program. And so I hired him as a coach so that I could basically talk to him every 2 weeks. Sometimes you have to invest money to build your circle of influence and the people around you. And so it's funny, we kind of joke about it. So over the last 2 years, we've actually become really good friends. We attend a lot of the same events. He puts on an event called Best Year Ever Blueprint in December. I spoke on that stage the last couple years and have really gotten to know those people within his group. And he's introduced me to some people kind of in the next level of group, actually including people like Cameron Harold. Mm-hmm. So that's just kind of how it built. And we joke now, I mean, I won't talk about his fees, but his coaching fees, his one-on-one coaching fees have grown by like 300 or 400% since I hired him 2 years ago. And he always tells me, he's like, we don't really need to do coaching. I was like, no, I want my time with you every 2 weeks. So I still pay him as a coach what I started 2 years ago. So I told him, if nothing else, I pay him for his time so we can catch up.
So do you think that the coaching from Hal has been one of the reasons why you've been able to grow so quick? I'm getting back to the motivation.
Yeah. I think it has. Hal helped me a lot with just what I would consider to be the personal development side, working on yourself. And I think that has done a lot that's helped a lot with the business, because right. I think we have to be really clear on what we're doing in order to really make massive growth within a business or influence other people, especially like our staff and our clients. So yeah, I fully believe that my coaching with Hal has had a huge impact on myself, which I believe has had a huge impact on the business.
Is there something with Hal that do you feel that resonates with you more than other coaches? So you could pick a lot of mentors, and typically you pick a mentor that's in the same framework like a larger agency, but you've picked a guy who's a Miracle Morning dude, right?
Yeah. So we share a lot of very similar experiences in life. Now, not necessarily his car crash that he experienced. I didn't go through that, but we both went through really big highs, really big lows. I mean, experienced depression and also success on the flip side of that. And he's only about a year, actually he's almost exactly a year older than me. And so I tell him, I'm like, hey, just go experience what I need to experience next year and then tell me now so I can skip a year. And that's been really beneficial. So having him have gone through things like, just like the depression type thing and failure of a business. And now he went through the process of figuring out how to deal with that. And now I'm able to shortcut my learning curve there. So the similar experiences is what really resonated made the relationship between Hal and I resonate, and why I think we get along so well, and why I appreciate all he's done for me as well.
Yeah, I think finding the right mentor has been a challenge for me. I want to actually be with some very high-end guys, but then when you look at the price tag, you're like, I don't know if I can rationalize that. Because they've kind of grown to a certain degree, where some of the main guys were, it's the 25,000, question. Is it going to change me that much? And I think that you have to think where you want to put percentages of your income. And a lot of people have also mentioned that it's more than the mentoring; it's the network, right? So that's really you probably hit it on the head, which is that Hal's getting you potentially even closer to people like a Cameron Harold, who is that's a next level, right? And the question is that where do you make that choice, and what made you go in that direction? Was that just because of the fact that you connected with them? I mean, I've done the same thing. I'm not saying that it's unique, but it is very true that if you want to reach out to someone, there is a way to do it, and that most people are accepting.
Yeah, and a lot of people feel like, oh, they're never going to have time for me, so they never do it.
Right.
But it's pretty easy to get a hold of most people.
Yep.
And as far as some of your comments about the money, I mean, the money and who, right? So as business owners, and even just people, we don't want to waste money. But so we're sometimes afraid to spend it, I think, in coaching and mentoring, especially when you start looking at price tags of, $2,500, $3,500, $5,000 a month and things like that, and then attending events for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, whatever those look like. But I mean, I'll be transparent. I mean, I think last year, I don't know exact, but I know that I spent somewhere between $55,000 and $70,000 last year on coaching, events. Some of that includes events that I'll send my staff to, but probably a pretty small amount of that was for that. And so I spend a lot of money in coaching and being around the people that I want to be around. And that has had a really big impact for me. And as far as, picking the right one, that's a tough one, I guess. I interview those people a lot and have to just it just has to feel right. And then some of the coaches I've interviewed, I'll actually talk to their other coaching clients and say, hey, this is what they're telling me. Tell me give me your real hard numbers of what's been happening, and what has changed in your business in the last 6 months or the last 12 months by working with this person. Right. If you can do it for 2 or 3 other companies, then heck yeah. And we get along, and I like your philosophies, and I feel like you're I guess just really a good person. Then hey, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, I think that's part of the challenge is that where. I mean, the way I look at it is, do I pick a really high-end, overqualified employee that I could bring in that could have that impact at the same time, or do I go out and get a coach? Those are my biggest arguments mentally. Like, I could get a really top-end person that is, like off the charts capable of helping me grow the business really from an agency level, or do I invest in a coach who will give me the mental, motivational? It's a seesaw, to say the least. Because it's hard to find really talented people in this industry that, fit you culturally as well.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, I think that's so important, and I think it's so overlooked, is it's got to fit culturally, because you can bring in the top guy or girl and, whatever, paid. And if they aren't a culture fit, then they're pretty much, they're close to worthless, because the culture is going to get rid of them. And if they can't be happy at work, they're not going to do their best work. And now you've spent all this money and you haven't gotten their highest value from that money.
Right.
Yeah, it was, from our experience or from my experience so far, I've had this discussion with myself and a lot of other people is, do I just kind of suck it up and hire somebody really good in this area because that's kind of where I want to grow? And I've talked to some really big agency owners because, they have years of data and millions of dollars invested / maybe even wasted on doing this type of stuff. And the feedback that I've gotten consistently is hire low to mid-level people that fit the culture in the team, that are really hungry and willing to grow. Mm-hmm. That's where they've consistently gotten the best value. I've had more than one place tell me, "Hey, we hired the best of the best, and it didn't work." Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I don't know from experience personally. We've never brought in like that best of the best person, but only because I've asked so many people the question. And that's consistently the answer I've gotten.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that's it's a knife blade, right? You just don't know until you get engaged on, what the hunger level is, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm very fascinated with 10xing this business. Like it's all I think about is like, how do we get out of this percentage increase of, X percent and look at a 10xing, what is that? And I always feel if I had the time to step away from the agency and think about the models more cohesively instead of being, day to day kind of hands deep into this stuff, that I would have a ability to consider some options on business models. But again, it takes a tribe to run these businesses, and by being the chief, you really do need to be engaged at a certain level that just as you mentioned in part of your reason for leaving your past agency, you can't sit on your laurels and expect the business to continue to thrive without leadership.
Yeah, so true. And you mentioned one of my favorite words. I mean, I invest a lot in leadership. Both me and like my operations manager and other people that want to be groomed into a next level within the company. Leadership is just a huge part of, I think, why we've grown and why we're continuing to grow. You mentioned 10X. It's funny you mentioned that. We're just finishing writing our Vivid Vision, which is from Cameron Herold and Double Double, and the vision of where the company will be on December 2019, so 3 years from now. And that's our actual goal. We're going to 10X what we're doing. So when we close December 2019, we will have done 10 million that year. So we have our work cut out for us over the next 3.5 years.
That's an awesome goal. That is that's something I think that and I know that the planning for that growth it's hard to visualize these things, but you don't really need to right now try and mechanically put the things all in place. You need to just operate off of the different sectors of a timeline that's short time right now to build scalable capabilities. And I think we're all learning that the real business is to impart the wisdom from others that have got scalable and workable systems that don't need to be customized on every single thing. It needs to be driven from a simplistic, almost line order type of model that delivers consistency. And then once you get there, then you can deliver the leverage by going out and doing the different mechanical pieces.
Yeah. When you have a strong enough why, the how will show up.
That's great. All right, so hey, let's wrap this up. We've been on for about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Is there anything that you want to impart to the person who's listening right now, or any speaking event or anything that's coming up that's of interest that you'd like to highlight?
I mean, no real event coming up or anything. The biggest thing that I would say and leave people with is, I think fear is one of the big things that holds us back from growing. I know that's what has held me back in the past, and just kind of remembering that business is fun. Business is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to be enjoying this, and we can't get caught up in the fear of what if all the time. And things that we want to accomplish are capable because we can look out there and see all the people that have done them. And, all of these other CEOs of other agencies and owners, I mean, yes, they're extremely intelligent, but they've been through all the stuff that we've been through. And they're just a little further ahead of that growth curve, but they're no smarter than we are. They're no more talented than we are. Just remember that and enjoy the ride to get there. And that we can actually do it. And I mean, we talked a little bit about motivation. That's what motivates me. And I mean, if I can leave the group or the audience with anything, that's probably the most important thing, I would say.
To build the fear muscle.
Yeah. So, that one, just remember, business is supposed to be fun. I believe that the universe is set up that we're all supposed to win. And the only time we don't win is when we get in our own way and we cause ourselves to not win. So by knowing that we're supposed to win and it's supposed to be fun, and remembering that fear, I mean, this will take 30 seconds. Fear is essentially fake. It's an emotion we were given 200,000 years ago as cave people for survival. But our brain has not changed that much in the last 200,000 years. So we still have this emotion of fear that's ingrained in us as humans. But now, since we don't have the need for survival, really, because we all have everything we need to survive, we still have fear. That's why, like the fear of public speaking, you're afraid of it because you literally think you're going to die. Your brain is telling you, hey, if you do that, like, you're going to die. So that's why that fear is so strong. So just knowing that a lot of times this emotion of fear is fake. It does not serve us in today's world. And just, and then combining that with things like, hey, they've done this. The other person has done this. I know it's possible. Let's have a little bit of fun along the way and not worrying about every little thing. Those are huge takeaways that I think about all the time. And I think that has really helped us grow as quickly as we have. So hopefully that makes a little bit more clarity around the takeaway that I was trying to give.
No, it totally does. And, it's been an awesome interview, and I'm sure we'll have other discussions because I think we're very close to the same cut of, I guess you could say, cut of thread or same fabric. So we'll probably end up having another conversation at some point because I've got some other questions, but I'll save that maybe for episode number 2 as we watch each other's growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's definitely keep in touch and kind of push each other to continue to grow.
Good. All right, Steve, appreciate it, and we'll catch you soon.
Yeah, thanks so much, Matt.
We've reached the end of this episode of CustomerBloom's Growing Business Faster podcast. So be sure to subscribe to the show and stay connected to us on CustomerBloom.com. We appreciate you joining us and look forward to providing you with realistic ways to help support and accelerate your business here on the Growing Business Faster podcast, brought to you by CustomerBloom.